Hey, get that remote.
Hello, everybody.
Elliot and Chris. What a surprise.
Can everyone hear us? Just want to make sure that everyone can hear us.
I'm going to turn my mic on.
Just confirm that you can hear us. All right. Clearly, we sound like a bunch of bosses.
Not on regular Univision, then.
It's Univision Deportes.
Oh, really?
All right. You ready? What's up, Atlanta? This is the Mouths of the South podcast brought to you by Dirty South Soccer in the palatial 680 The Fan Studios. I am Eric Quintana, joined by Josh Bagriansky and Mr. Sam Franco. Gentlemen, match week, CCL, Thursday, Herediano. Should I say Club Esport Herediano?
That's right. Do they play other sports too?
That's the proper pronunciation. Never mind, forget it.
Because you're used to Club de football or whatever, but here it's
Well, it's more like
sports. So they have a basketball team too?
Normally that's the case. Normally Club Esport means
like
he's got some
sporting.
kind of an entity.
Okay.
Exactly. Like Real Madrid has basketball, as does Barcelona, although they're more football or soccer related. But yeah, I mean, most of the time they have these overall groups that are multiple teams.
Yeah.
It's great.
CCL match is already underway. Toronto playing. Honestly, I forget off the top of my head what the other Tigres versus. I forget who the other one is. Are you guys excited to finally be talking about matches?
Yes,
Actually
thank
talking
God.
about Man United playing games.
Well, I don't know
God.
what you're talking about. I kind of liked talking about the Miguel Almiron transfer saga and possibility of having 4 DPs. No, I'm just kidding. I
mean,
really wanted to start talking about games again.
The Almiron thing at least was related to the team, but if it wasn't for matches this week, we'd probably be leading with Kitgate and Stargate,
Oh, boy.
which I guess is worth a little bit of time. We're gonna get to that later, but
I mean, I
instead
think the
we get
team
to that.
stole my idea. They just ironed on a bunch of stars because they're apparently just falling off.
Are you guys mad about the kids?
We got time for it later.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I was just saying, Eric left the room for a sec to check on, I assume, something technical.
Audio levels.
Audio levels. How do we sound? We sound good?
Yeah, we sound good.
Okay. But we were just saying that how it's nice to be playing matches.
I
That
sound best, you sound second best, and you sound the worst.
good. Well, it's not about it's about the content, not about the sound of the voice. But
Enunciate.
anyways, we were just saying it's nice to be playing matches because otherwise we'd be probably leading the show tonight with Kitgate and Stargate, and instead we get to put that on the back burner for later and actually talk about some soccer.
We want to talk about Nagbe real quick.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way.
I feel like we had to kind of knock this out of the way because everyone already knows what's going on. And if you're living under a rock, which I assume no one listening to this podcast is, Nagbe seemingly has figured things out with Atlanta United, is looking like he's going to stay.
Reported by our own Rob Usry.
Rob Usry. And I
Yeah,
just
Rob was really good on
He's got sources.
We've been reminded by a few on Twitter that Carmona said very similar things around the time that he was sold last year. Look, it's obviously great that he's going to be staying. It sucks that whatever happened, whatever personal issues he was going through, it kind of happened right at preseason. I wish it could have been solved, during the month where no one was doing anything. But look, you can't deny the skill and quality that Nagbe is on the pitch. So, and especially with this Atlanta United team, he's a difference maker. He's one of the teams that Tigres versus Saprissa.
That's correct. We finally found it on the
Sorry, yeah, for those of you not watching. But you wish this would have been done. This would have been figured out. This would have been kind of vocalized in the month that nothing was going on.
It's just a very strange situation. We've seen, I mean, if you follow sports in general right now, there's contract disputes and things like that all over the place. And then different people handle them different ways. Some athletes like to get out in front, be really vocal and loud about it. And that's not what Darlington Nagbe does. I mean, he's a very reserved kind of guy. So you weren't going to get a lot from him. And even when he came out today and actually talked to the media, we talked to our man Joe Patrick and some other people, and they're just like, they were shocked that he came out there and, was just talking with media like that. Usually, the club in these kind of situations likes to let statements and like official statements and things like that be how they handle this kind of thing. But letting Nagbe come out and kind of face the music himself was an interesting tactic and one that I appreciate.
I got to think that because he came out and talked, this has kind of been officially squashed.
Exactly.
Aside from the fact that he obviously said, I'm happy in Atlanta, all that stuff. Because, again, we did hear similar things from Carmona. I think him coming out and actually speaking to the media lets us know that he's going to be here for 2019. At least that's what we hope. Fingers crossed, because I don't think Lorenowitz going to do a whole another full season as a regular starting.
Also,
I think this has got to
starting
be some sort of. I mean, just reading between the lines and then reading the tea leaves or whatever you want to say. Obviously, this was financial. There was something about this, and I'll say it like this. If you're Arthur Blank's dealt with this before. Julio Jones with the Falcons had a thing last offseason where he was very, vocal about wanting to have his contract amended or whatever, and they ended up taking care of him. And quite frankly, the contract that Darlington Nagbe's on right now is a bargain for the player you're getting.
$650,000 per year, I think, at this point.
Let me just put it this way. There are quite a few players in MLS making a lot more money than him that shouldn't be.
How much more valuable is Nagbe versus McCann?
Oh, my God. That's like asking what's more valuable to living, water or, having Coca-Cola.
I mean, look, you can argue that obviously McCann was not worth the $580,000 per year, that whatever that number was. It was something around in that ballpark. I forget what it was exactly. But that Nagbe is night and day better than,
of course,
than McCann. So
there are DPs that are probably making more money than Nagbe this year.
On paper, you'd expect Nagbe to get paid more. Look, that's not Atlanta United's fault. That's an agent issue.
Of course,
and that might be. But we can only speculate as to what the reasons were, what happened, all that stuff. So we're not going to dive too far deep into it. We just assume that it's a money issue, that he wasn't happy with the contract that he was currently on. He was looking for maybe more money, and he just didn't get that. And if he settled everything with Atlanta United, maybe he did get that. Maybe they worked something out to where.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I forget if you can backload or front load MLS contracts.
Well, you just said though that it's the agent's fault, and that's all well and good, but also you get to a point where you got to take care of your own. And like I mentioned, the Julio Jones thing earlier, Arthur Blank took care of Julio Jones.
You don't want Nagbe to be angry.
I'm not saying Nagbe's on the same level, but anybody that doesn't think Darlington Nagbe was one of the most important players for Atlanta United's title run last year wasn't watching games.
All right, so we killed the Nagbe thing, right? We're done with that? Josh, any input?
I'm just glad he's back, and I mean, you guys covered. He didn't really have much leverage to speak from. He tried to, pull a little negotiation ploy. It's over, and
it's good to have him back.
It's over and done with.
And it's good to have him back. It's good that Frank DeBoer came out and said, "Look, I never had a problem with the guy. This was something that had nothing to do with me."
For less than a month, right?
DeBoer's like, it had nothing to do with me. This is more some personal something that he had to do. And now that it's done, he's totally going to work his way back into this team. And DeBoer said it best, because he's very important to the team.
Like many issues that Atlanta United have struggled with, they've done a good job of putting them to bed once they're resolved, and not letting those issues.
They never have firestorm.
And it feels like with the player Nagbe coming out publicly,
romantic overtures was the worst thing that's happened.
Right, exactly. And think about how little that seemed to affect the team. I mean, in terms of team chemistry, it really didn't have a massive impact. So Atlanta United definitely not. These little dramatic things that can come out of they're par for the course. They don't have the lasting impact on Atlanta United that they might have on another club.
So well, again, I think this just comes from the top down, because anything Arthur Blank's done over his career, whether it be his ownership of the Falcons or any business or something that he's had to do with, it's going to be done the right way. And there's a certain way in terms of how his teams deal with the media and how quickly they put out fires. That's just par for the course with this organization. When I say this organization, I mean really like the Arthur Blank group of businesses.
I feel you on that one. I do think that Arthur Blank takes a massive step back compared to what he does with the Falcons, just because he understands the Falcons.
Well, he doesn't understand it as much. No, I totally agree. But this doesn't have anything to do with personnel decisions or anything. He probably has input with the Falcons. This is more so just the mission statement, the code of ethics, all of these things that permeate down. This is how we are going to run this business. This is how we are going to run our marketing and PR. And those are things I definitely think that, maybe not, in your face, hands-on kind of thing, but those are the tenets of the Arthur Blank business that you have to follow.
When he hired Darren Eales, he made that very clear that that's the kind of that I assume that's what he wanted out of his club, out of his franchise. And I mean, that's what Darren Eales has kind of done heading into in the 3 years that he's been here, or however long he's been here. It's been longer than that, but you guys know what I mean. That's how they've handled business that way, and they're all in agreement there. All right,
but really quick, is it bad that as an Atlanta United fan, I feel that my organization is way better than yours. And when I say yours, I mean every other team in the league. Like how the whole structure is run. I mean, they won a title in 2 years.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing.
I don't think you'd
Well,
be wrong.
I'm just trying to think. It's not wrong. No, you're totally right. It's not wrong. But as a fan, like, we have all these other fan bases out there that are like, oh, these plastics with the Atlanta United, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you kind of feel like, well, feeling that way, even though the team's only been around for 2 seasons, but at the same time, they made the playoffs in their first year. They won a title in their second year. I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
The biggest Atlanta United hater would even be able to take a step back and say, okay, I might hate you guys for what you are and what you represent and plastics and all that stuff, but at the very least, I can respect the way your franchise, your front office goes about its business.
Exactly.
And
that cannot be argued.
Yeah, exactly. Buying low, selling high, and developing the old and young talent that we have on this team. The facility, you can't deny that. I mean, that's like, if you do, then you're just being, you're just being.
And before we get into Herediano, I just want to say that what Atlanta United has done in such a short period of time should make every owner in the league look at their front office and say, why haven't we been able to do that, even though we've been around way longer?
Yeah. All right, let's skip ahead. Well, not skip ahead. Let's move on to Herediano, Club Esport Herediano.
Scotiabank CONCACAF Champions League.
That comes on Thursday. That's a 10 o'clock. Is it 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock? I've heard both.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. That's what I thought.
Well, that's what I thought, too. Who's saying 11 o'clock?
I read somewhere 11 o'clock. Let me find out real quick.
I wrote 10 o'clock on my old school
10 o'clock.
Right.
10 o'clock PM. My bad. I don't know where I saw 11 o'clock, but my eyes did not deceive me. I saw 11 o'clock somewhere. All right, so Atlanta United enters this match, and it's the first match for Atlanta United, first competitive match of 2019. First time we're going to see them go full tilt, if you will. And they're going up against a club that is midway through their season, exactly midway through their season. Is not having a great time in this first half of their season. I believe I saw it was 3-3-3, 3 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws, and not good. Look, say what you will about this team, about CCL, about playing a CONCACAF team. Atlanta United you should have no doubt about what Atlanta United should be able to do against this team. They should walk away with an at the very least, a win.
I mean, if you
a draw, a loss should be looked in the same mindset as the 4-0 loss against Houston to start the season last year.
I'd agree with that. And I just think that when you're talking about this kind of a competition, look, it's going to be hard to go to Costa Rica and get a win, not so much because of the opposition, but because of the environment, and quite frankly, because of the style we're going to see. There's going to be a lot of hacking. We see this in, the CONCACAF World Cup qualification when Team USA is going up against Panama or Costa Rica or Honduras. It's like these teams have very talented players, but they also resort to some pretty shady tactics at times in terms of the physicality that the game gets. And there's a lot of, chippy play.
I think you guys are, and I think a lot of Atlanta United fans are doing this. I think they're really underestimating the strength of the opposition. I think Herediano are a much better side than you guys give them credit for. They did lose.
So they as good as Atlanta United?
No, of course not.
I will happily eat crow if I'm wrong. But I just don't think I am.
But I don't think it's a rollover type situation. I mean, they did.
I agree with you, though. I wouldn't say that they're going to roll over. I'm just saying that I think that it's not as much to me about the opposition because Atlanta United is better. It's more so about going there and doing something that like the U.S. men's national team has trouble going to some of these smaller countries and grabbing wins. It's hard to go down to those places and win.
And I would have no problem, for instance, with a 0-0 draw if you get out of there.
That would be not best case scenario, but certainly, if you don't allow any goals, you're feeling pretty good.
Way these ties have kind of gone historically in CCL is that, it's typically, and we've seen this with a lot of MLS sides, when they've gone to a smaller club, smaller opponent, and the game has been really ugly and choppy. We've seen a lot of sides struggle with sides throughout Central America. So I don't. There's a few reasons for that. I think one is that these teams are a lot better than maybe they get credit for. You kind of alluded to it again, Sam, earlier with a lot of these countries. You're still getting very technical, talented players.
Of course.
So I think
a lot of people think that you're going to go down there and every player is going to have like a shiv attached to his leg. He's just going to try to stab your guy. It's not like that. They have technically talented players. Why do you think Costa Rica made it to the quarterfinals of the World Cup a few years ago? They have good players.
It's good, and they have a couple of internationals on the roster. So I think we have to be realistic and just. I mean, I think Atlanta United are the favorites, but I think you go down there absolutely respecting the opponent.
No, you can't play super gung ho. You do have to kind of respect where you are.
They're in mid-season. Atlanta United will be their first competitive match of the season. So I don't think you go there with the mindset of we need to win this game, we need to beat this team. I think you want to get a result and come back home. Like I said, historically with these ties, these teams have really struggled when they've come stateside or to Mexico. So I'm basically just talking about the two big continental leagues, MLS, Liga MX. When they've played these clubs from Central America or the Caribbean, it's been ugly when they went there, and usually when they came home, they got the job done.
That's the thing. It's always this is going to be, especially the one on the road, is going to be ugly. I'll tell you that. Right.
I'm really intrigued by this though, because at the same time, it's going to be ugly. I mean, Ferdinand Medford, who by the way is the biggest name that we know associated with that side, is the manager, Costa Rican legend. I think he's played a 4-4-2 every single match since he's been in charge of the side.
The boxiest.
He came in for this season. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really know that he's going to change what he does significantly for this match, because I think, first of all, like I said, it is really your opportunity to go and get a result is the home leg for a club of this stature against Atlanta United. So I think that we might see more of the same from them, and they are unbeaten in their last 4 in the league. They do have some quality. One name that I was most familiar with was Omar Herediano, the winger, who's a Mexican international. But I think there are some other guys that are really the straws that stirs the drink. When you consider the fact that they're in midseason form, you add in the fact that they've been better of late, and the atmosphere that Sam kind of alludes to. If I'm Atlanta United, I'm going there to get a result and nothing more. If that's 0-0 based on the way the match is played, I'm fine with that. If that's 1-1, I'm fine with that too.
I think you take a loss. I think anything but a loss is acceptable.
Yeah, a loss, I think, to y'all's point in terms of the comparison of the two teams, I think a loss would be seen as unacceptable. But I think a draw would be okay. Yeah. I think a draw would be okay.
Well, especially because you're going to come back to Kennesaw and I would assume probably thrash them up here. That would be my guess.
Yeah. It is interesting, and it is interesting to me they play on turf.
Here's my issue, is that you've got I forget, it was Barco? No, you've got Pitti, you've got Barco, and those are both two stud young players. You've got Joseph Martinez, you've got the star power that you have on Atlanta United. I can't concede anything less than a win. I'm not saying they're going to blow them out of the water.
Mm-hmm. Even the replicas have star power.
But I can't concede anything but a win. I can't.
Really?
I can't.
I would be okay with that.
But you're telling me that one of the worst teams right now in Costa Rica.
They're not one of the worst teams in Costa Rica.
They're one of the worst teams in Costa Rica.
They're 3-3.
You know, Atlanta United has never played a game outside of the United States. I think you're discounting the fact this is the first time they're playing a game outside of the United States.
I don't worry about
that. Other than Canada, let me take that back. I do need to put it out there, but that's an MLS team. I'm just saying.
Are you worried about that? Do you think that the atmosphere will get to some of the players?
No, because I'll say this. I think, obviously a lot of these guys are used to these kind of environments,
including MLS veterans.
Well,
like Laurentiis surely has played in a similar match like this.
But I'm just saying, I'm not necessarily worried that the players won't be ready for it. I'm just saying that this is going to be unlike anything Atlanta United as a club on the whole have seen in terms of going somewhere.
Okay, I don't care what you say. I mean, you've got players from South America that have played across the entire.
Oh yeah, that's what. Of course.
You've got Parkhurst, who great interview today by Felipe Cardenas,
who we'll be having on in a few weeks.
Yeah, who's done everything himself. Like this, traveling like this, going into an environment like this is not a surprise for any of these guys at this point.
Yeah.
On top of that, you're the 9th place team in Herediano in the league right now. You score as many goals as you let in. I mean, what is there to be scared of at this point?
I don't would be scared. I'm just you have to look at historically how these
Atlanta United lost to Houston 4-0 last year. We didn't see that coming, but it happened.
Yeah, we also have McCann in the middle of the field.
Well, I'm just saying.
That was a huge issue. We don't have that this year.
I understand.
We have as much continuity as we had from last year. I don't think there's any team in MLS that has as good of carryover from one year to the next as Atlanta United has right now. Say what you will about losing Almiron, sure, I get that. But Kitty is not that bad of a replacement. We can all agree, right?
Yeah, I think the reason has much more to do with the fact that this is going to be the first competitive match this group plays together. And I think
they're in the middle of a transition with a new coach. They're playing a new system. They, like you said, they don't have Miguel Almirón. They're trying to incorporate Pity Martinez. I'm not saying that I think they're going to lose. I'm just saying there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things going on here that, may cause this to not be as easy. Mike Tyson has one of my favorite quotes in sports history. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. When you get down there, something may happen in this game that flips it on its head and you don't know. So, there's a lot you can plan for, but there's a lot that is going to be, things you can't plan.
Don't get me wrong. Me being incredibly disappointed in them losing this match is one thing. They could lose the match. I'm not saying they can't.
Mm-hmm.
You're just saying
but
it
would be incredibly disappointing on the same level as losing 4-0 to Houston to begin last year. And there were a hell of a lot more problems last year than there are this year.
I just think that you were really underestimating the quality of opposition. You keep saying that they're one of the bottom teams in Costa Rica, but the reality is they have only played 9 matches. They have matches in hand, so they could easily be. They're 3 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses, unbeaten in their last 4. So they're not one of the worst teams.
The back line is a mess
in Costa Rica.
You're sounding a lot like the typical American soccer fan, and some of this. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general that hubris that came with being in CONCACAF for so long. And last time I checked, the USA did not play it.
Eric is pulling the equivalent of the U.S. taking the photos at the Trinidad and Tobago Stadium the match before, showing the moat around the pitch.
Oh, yeah.
And disrespecting. That's what Eric's doing right
now. That's what I'm saying. We as Americans and as U.S. soccer fans and even MLS fans that are now worried about intra-CONCACAF games because we're in the Champions League, we cannot underestimate these teams anymore. We cannot underestimate the Costa Rican League, just like the USA can't underestimate Costa Rica, Panama, and these teams anymore because they're getting much, much better.
The difference between USA, Trinidad, and Tobago, and Atlanta United and Herediano
is
night and day. It's drastically different. U.S. national team, look, let's be real. They suck across the board.
Yeah.
We can all agree on that.
They sucked in the Hex. They suck pretty much now. Atlanta United doesn't suck. Atlanta United has star power for days. Just in town alone, they could beat this team. They should beat this team.
I agree.
So look, we can talk about how they could lose. That's absolutely plausible. I'm not saying they can't.
I'm with you. They should not lose. That's not arguable.
But it would still be incredibly disappointing to see a team this talented, even in their first match, go to Costa Rica. I don't care about the environment because these players have played in that environment.
Yeah, no,
they have faced similar tests.
It's much more about the sharpness of the side.
Whether with Atlanta United or not, they at some point in their career have faced this kind of test. They've been to matches or before matches where they've had the fire alarm pulled or they've had the parade in front of their whatever. They've done all that. They've been through all that. Every single one of these players
I agree.
have been through that.
I agree.
Brad Guzan's played in the Birmingham Derby.
I just think that in the end you have to be. I'm talking about from the team's mentality. I really hope they're not going in there thinking with the mentality of like.
If you've gone in thinking already
Italy,
won, then you got to be careful.
You don't want them to have the mentality of Italy playing as San Marino in a World Cup qualifier. I don't think they will either.
Yeah, I don't think they've walked in and already up 3 points.
But the mentality that you have as a fan, Eric, which is fine.
It's confidence.
I really hope that doesn't transfer to them because in the end,
it shouldn't.
If you have to get out of there with an ugly draw, that's fine. But I think if we dive a little deeper. Because I think if this match is played 3 months from now and we know what we have, I think it's hardly even a worry. What I would be interested to see, because we know Atlanta United are the more talented side. We know that they'll probably be the aggressor. What I'm interested to see is, are they going to play that free-flowing game that we're expecting from this group, or is it going to be a little bit disjointed being the first competitive match?
I do worry because, and this is something I've talked about, with Eric on the radio show or in a couple different places, but it's just, you look at this team and what I saw, we only saw one preseason game, but lots of attack, and neither team was super worried about playing defense in that game. But I do worry about if Atlanta United becomes a team that gets too far forward too much, under this style because the defense, is not as deep as it needs to be, and there's going to be a lot of players working themselves in. You lose a Greg Garza, who was a big part of that back line. I do kind of worry defensively. I don't think, I look at the offense and look at the weapons, look at DeBoer and the way that he's going to coach this thing. I'm not worried offensively at all. I am worried about the back line and how they're going to adjust to
because of the three, or do you think that Franco Escobar because they're going to a 3-4-3, or is it because you think?
Well, I just worry about getting caught
Franco
out.
Escobar being out.
It's not so much Franco, and I don't want to say just him. I think it's the whole back line. I just worry.
So it's a new system, more so.
Yes, particularly on the flanks, because Gressel and I don't know who
It's gonna be Breckshea.
Okay,
On the other side,
yeah.
Let's just assume it's Breckshea.
Okay, so Gressel and Breckshea and maybe even Bello sometimes, they're going to get forward and get into the attack. The problem with that is, that one time where somebody makes a mistake. And look, I'm just going to say it. We saw Barco turn the ball over a lot and spring counterattacks at times last season. If you do that in this system where a lot of guys are pushed forward, particularly fullbacks that way, you are going to get exposed that way.
Look, we had a chance to watch. At least I got to watch one highlight for the full match from the last game for Herediano. You saw it too, Josh, right? Did you see it?
I watched bits and pieces. I did not watch it.
I'm not gonna. The way they set up it basically comes out to a 4-4-2 with a double 6. And basically what that means is that you have 2 CDMs and then you got 2 essentially wide wingers that kind of stick to the midfield, and then you got 2 up top. It's going to leave a ton of room inside in the middle of the field. It's going to – I think that what we'll see is Herediano be forced to play back. They're going to walk into this game knowing that they don't have to score. They just have to keep Atlanta from scoring more than one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect play for Herediano.
You think they would like to get one early, maybe?
Sure,
like the first 10 minutes of the game, they're going to be like trying to get something, and then when they don't, they drop way back.
If they can sneak one in, absolutely. Yeah. But imagine being Herediano, looking at Atlanta United, what they did last year, how they play, and knowing that they have similar players and a relatively, very broadly, in a very similar, or broadly saying, broadly speaking, a similar way of playing to this year. They know the attacking power of Atlanta United. They know what Pity Martinez can do. They know what Barker can do on a good day. They know what Bijadaba can do. They know what Joseph does. So they're going to want – I'm willing to bet. I put money on the fact that they're just going to park the bus and hope for the best. Take their chances when they see the opportunities, and that's where I think that's the one scenario where I see Atlanta United struggling is if they can't figure out how to break a bunkering defense.
Well, that's what you're going to see them do.
If it's a lot of circulation, it's all and they're still trying to figure out exactly how to maneuver whenever a team isn't really pressing you or isn't trying to attack you in a sense.
They're not trying to,
and they're waiting for everything. That's the one issue where I see. Look, that's something that Atlanta United struggled with last year, but we're not absolutely certain that that's what's going to happen.
And I also think that
I also think that you have better passers in
exactly.
Marco and Pity, and they
that's
can
the
find
difference.
Joseph a lot easier than someone like
that's going to be the difference. I think this year you're going to see Atlanta United it's going to be a lot. I don't say easier, but just the styles of Barco and Pity Martinez, guys who can hold the ball in a compressed area very well. It's going to make it easier for them to break down a bunkering defense. Last year, Miguel Almiron, we talked about this all the time, wants to go 100 miles an hour. That's a little more difficult when you got 2 lines of 4 sitting back in front of the
30 miles an hour.
Exactly.
And a lot of Joseph's finishes on like Almiron assists were very quick twitch. They were because Almiron, like you said, likes to move so fast that Joseph had to keep his head on a swivel. He had to be ready at all times because you never knew when that pass was exactly going to come. And a lot of times it'd be so fast, Joseph would just like get a flick on or something, like not necessarily even be able to control what he was doing, almost more instinctively getting a touch on the ball. Whereas in this, I totally agree with you in the sense that, the play of Pity and Barco, I know they're different, but they're both a little more methodical in their ability to possess
exactly.
and their ability to pick that pass out, which is something that Almiron, like you said, was way more head down, direct. I'm going to run at the goal as quickly as I can, and either I'm going to put on a shot or I'm going to cut it back, or something like that. It's a little bit different in this set.
And I think that's the big difference between this system to the system that Tata Martino played, even though we saw 3 in the back, 5 in the back, whatever you want to call it, kind of in each of these systems. But the 3-4-3 that De Boer is playing, I think, is completely predicated on Almiron leaving and Martinez, the acquisition of Pity Martinez and Ezequiel Barco hopefully stepping up to the occasion. That's the reason Atlanta United switched, I think, from a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3 is you want to have 2 players in kind of that free role attacking mindset that you had Miguel Almiron in before.
Well, that's why I think what Tito's role on this team is so fascinating. Like, what is he going to end up doing?
I think he's in that same boat as Almiron right now.
That's what I'm saying. He is much more of a direct run at, not really possess kind of. He's more of a, I've got the ball. As soon as I get it, I'm going to run right at goal and try and make something happen.
Which, for Tito is probably not super happy about it, but that's tough for the opposition. And we can look right at this Herediano match, say that it's just like we're saying, it's ugly, it's 0-0. Obviously, their defenders will be very fatigued from defending all the night. And suddenly you bring on Tito Villalba, a guy that can shoot from anywhere, run at pace, get crosses into the box, and play a little bit more direct. So Tito's probably not that happy about it. And I know a lot of fans think Tito should be starting, and I understand that opinion. But in the
system,
end,
it's not as big of a fit.
We'll see. We'll see.
At least how we see it playing out and what we think about it.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah. I mean, to have a guy like that off the bench. And so I think you could see Tito and the differences that you guys bring up specifically as to how he plays compared to Barco and Pity. A Tito off the bench in the type of match that we might see an ugly kind of
he's a
low-scoring match on Thursday. You bring in a guy like that, and he can really turn the match on its head.
And I'll say this too. Y'all were talking about the bunkering and frustration. One thing frustration can lead to mistakes. And that's when I think Herediano, if they bunker in like you're talking about, they bunker in and they cause that frustration from Atlanta United, and somebody, because of that frustration, does something dumb, that's when Herediano can pounce.
Especially because if you look, they're going to play a 4-4. Well, we expect them to play a 4-4-2. And by the way, Eric and I are going to go deeper into this. We're going to do episode 2 of Talking Tactics tonight. So we'll have that out hopefully Wednesday morning, so you can kind of take a look at the X's and O's. We'll have a board up, and we can kind of give you a visual of all this stuff. But I think in the 4-4-2, what they're basically going to do is they're going to have what it's not like both strikers are going to stay up top. When they sit back defensively, and they'll have the 2 blocks of 4, the 4 defenders, the 4 midfielders in front of the 18 sitting deep. One of the strikers will come back a little bit and kind of wait and hope that one of those 2 blocks can win the ball back, and that will be the man to hit and then start the counter with the other striker in front of them. So the way that Herediano play with 2 strikers, even if you play defensively with 2 up top, that can be difficult for the opposition to cover. So it's important
you got the link from the back to that striker that is dropped further in to the striker still staying.
Exactly. And I'd imagine that's going to be their main method of attack, and almost their way of being aggressive and staying aggressive at home is going to be that striker that comes a little bit deeper. It's been
almost like a false.
Well, you're also, on the break, you're also going to have essentially 4 guys coming out of the back line of 3. If you count the 2 non-CDM midfielders, they're going to be flying with
exactly. So that's one thing you look to do. So Jose Guillermo Ortiz has been that player from just looking through the lineups and then watching that last match that comes a little deeper, and then the other striker, which has rotated over the last month or so, sits a little bit higher. So watch for him. That's the guy that I think you'll see them try to hit and start the counter attack is this kind of second striker player. And then, like you said, Eric, you've got a couple of wingers in Omar Herediano and Jimmy Maring, who's now back healthy. Tricky wingers that can get forward when that ball is won back and counterattack in the wide area. So Herediano, they're going to sit back there and try to make it ugly, but they're absolutely going to have a plan to get forward and score goals.
They
themselves.
Have players that are very effective in doing what we're describing there in terms of springing that counter and getting forward quickly.
If Herediano tries to play with Atlanta United, I think the way that you'll see at least 1 or 2 goals. In my mind, you'll see at least 1 or 2 goals coming off of Herediano trying to do something in the back line, because
how risky they are. How much risk are they willing to take in this game? Because if they take too much, Atlanta United will pounce.
Watching their back line, it's almost laughable how bad their back line is.
Mm-hmm.
Between the goal they gave up in their last match and the clearances they've attempted in their last match.
Hubris
and look,
again.
Maybe it was just 1 match. I didn't I had a ton of time to.
They have a new
keeper
this season too. So,
but I'm telling you, it's like if I'm Joseph and I'm looking at that back line, it's a dream come true.
I mean, you should absolutely expect to score goals.
If Barco can replicate something similar to what he did with against Joros, then I fully believe that Joseph is going to get 1 or 2 goals based off turnovers on that back line.
The big part
somewhere in that defensive.
I think a big part of the back line also is going to be the protection provided by the midfield, because if Joseph's able to receive a ball one-on-one with a center back, same for PT, same for Barco, then to me the midfield has already not done their job of closing those spaces down, not giving Atlanta United time to find those players. So the 2 that I'm really interested in are the 2 holding mids that have played for them, and one is Yeltsin Tejeda, who actually is a Costa Rican international and made a cameo in the World Cup last summer. He's a guy that they acquired in January that can play the holding mid position really well. I actually think he's a little bit like Eric Lemede in that he's a type that he's definitely a defensive midfielder, but he's good on the ball, and you'll see that he does complete some dribbles when you look at his statistics. And he's playing next to the captain, was it Granados, I believe, and those two guys just are going to sit deep, right? They're going to play, Oscar Granados are going to sit deep, and they're going to sit right in front of the two center backs you just mentioned, Eric. And I think you're going to see them play very conservative. So Joseph Martinez, if he checks deep in front of the center backs to receive the ball, the two CDMs are right there to mark him. By the same token, if those guys get pulled away from the back four, then you're going to end up seeing a lot of those situations where Joseph Martinez is able to receive the ball and turn in front of the back four. Same for PT, same for Barco. So as far as their defensive organization, I'm more so looking at the two holding midfielders in that 4-4-2, more so even than the guys across the back four.
The key for Herediano would be not to get spread out on that back line. That back line and the defensive third altogether. When you think about how Pity Martinez plays, how Barco plays, where Joseph will be positioned in relation to where Pity and Barco will be. You throw in either Nagbe or Lorenowitz, whoever ends up playing against this match. I assume Lorenowitz.
We'll just call Pity and Barco Pico.
And then what you've got on the wings and Breck Shea and Gressel, you're gonna get this team spread out. You're gonna open up holes for Joseph. Not so much for. I don't think Gressel and Breck Shea are going to have particularly good matches. At least that's what I would predict. But I would predict that someone like Pity is going to find Joseph a couple times.
And we always talk about how great Joseph's movement is, and this might be a match where he doesn't get a lot of touches because he might be blanketed by those two center backs and those two center CDMs I just mentioned.
It might be more about just getting the ball in the box or getting that service and being able to pounce.
But his movement is going to be crucial because if he's moving side to side and takes those guys with him, again, we just talked about how Barco and PT have absolute free roll to roam into that center part of the pitch, which could be left vacant if those guys are following Joseph Martinez side to side with his movement off the ball.
PT also seems way more, at least just in the Jolas game that I saw and in some of the highlights I've seen from him in South America, much more gumption to take shots than Almiron had.
Almiron took a lot of shots.
I was gonna say,
I mean, the types of shots in terms of the types of chances he takes, I feel like PT takes more chances.
Well, okay, so
I would say that Almiron was a little wild in the chances he took.
Yes.
Where Pity is maybe a little.
He took a lot of shots.
Yeah,
though.
But I mean, it would take him. Not
maybe it was more about the type of shot.
I would say this
selection.
Almiron was more of a frantic type player in attack. So when he took a shot, sometimes it was like, "Whoa, dude, why did you shoot that?" With PT, I think you just see he's a more refined player. I'm not saying he's better or worse, but he's more refined.
He's a little more predictable too.
He attacks with a purpose. It looks predictable, I think.
Well, but really, he could be more like you said, Almiron.
You're talking about Almiron being predictable or Pity?
No, PT.
No, I'm saying PT.
I think Almiron's the most predictable player I've ever seen.
I don't think.
Well, you just say that because he doesn't have the right foot, so you can force him to his left. Or you can force him to his right, and he won't shoot.
I think they're both very unpredictable players, but unpredictable in different ways.
What Almiron was going to do every time he ran down that left side.
Well, yeah, but stop it. Yeah, I mean,
hey, look, I'm right there with you.
That's why we say more refined, right? PT can do. Almiron is, look, I'm going to run past you. Good luck.
Yeah. PT definitely has a better weak foot.
And that's why we talk about against a bunkering defense, a player like PT who doesn't need to necessarily run at you 100 miles an hour, but can cut inside, combine with others, play a little slower tempo, just like Barco can. That's going to help you so much against a team like this who's going to play two lines of four and just sit back for a lot of the match. It's going to help so much to have guys that don't have to run 1,000,000 miles an hour against a defense playing a high line.
If you're watching on the YouTube channel right now, send us any questions. Send us questions our way. We'll answer them as they appear. I know I saw some earlier. I just want to make sure that if anyone did already ask anything, throw it up again just so we get it. I will say that I feel like the highlights we saw from Pity Martinez, I think this will be – I think most games would say this, but I think this is going to be a good opportunity, especially if Herediano sit back. We could see the type of passes that we've seen plenty in those highlight videos.
You're going to see his personality as a player because he's going to have time and space on the ball. Now, if Herediano have anything to say about it, it won't be in the last third in dangerous situations, but we'll still get a real good idea of how he likes to express himself on the pitch because he's going to have, in most places he receives the ball, he's going to have time and space. It's just going to be in those last 25 yards or so to goal. That
he's getting hacked.
Put him under pressure.
He's going to
for
get
sure.
hacked. There's
Him,
no question
Joseph,
about
Barco,
that.
everyone.
Yeah. They're getting,
And I was
they're
watching-
getting kicked at.
This is
They're
a
getting
team
hacked.
that all four players had yellow cards. All four players across the back had yellow cards on the weekend. One guy had a double yellow. So already this is a physical side, and I'm sure they'll double down on that.
There's going to be a lot of
Atlanta.
swinging at legs in terms of Barco, in terms of PT, in terms of Joseph. The guys that are on the ball a lot and are moving quickly, they are going to get hacked.
Let's talk.
No question.
I want to mention with Atlanta United. I'm really interested to see, because we assume Franco Escobar is out. This is a
I
lot.
don't think we assume. We know.
A lot
he's
of
out.
people, he's out. A lot of people have not mentioned this. You're going to play. I mean, you talk about one guy that is not used to those situations like Atlanta United roster. It's Miles Robinson.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to be slotting in. We think
Maybe Gressel too. I mean, he's played.
maybe Gressel. Yeah. Although he's a German, so he
That's
can
true.
handle it.
That's
Handle
true.
it all.
Steel result.
Yeah, but Miles Robinson, I think, I expect him to do well, but I'm surprised that people haven't picked him out as a possible weakness for Atlanta United, just because he doesn't have a ton of experience. He's never played in an environment like this before.
You never played at UNC, bro? He's a
Yeah, right. UNC can be tough. But
I default to the times he's asked to step in, and he does a great job.
He has done. I mean, but outside of the Houston game the Dallas game last year. That was really the only time where I noticed a pretty monumental screw up from him. And we even disagreed on how much of it was his fault versus.
And he'd come off the bench in that match, and he
That's
was
true,
playing in a position that he's not used to. So,
Look,
but it was a terrible error, though.
Miles Robinson, especially if he's the middle CB in that back line, I think it's a perfect position for him, because one of the big complaints we heard, and we've talked about this before, but one of the big complaints we've heard about Miles from Tata was he's just not that great with the ball at his feet yet. So putting him in the middle of that back line takes away a lot of that responsibility. Not to say that that's going to be absent. It's not going to be asked of him, but it's a lot less responsibility with the ball at his feet. That gets kind of pushed to LGP and Parker, so they're on either side of him. And you're going to have Remedi and Lorenowitz, who I assume, look, as much as Lorenowitz or Remedi is going to be asked to play forward in the system, at least maybe a lot more than they did last year. I think in this match they'll both be,
and
maybe asked to be more reserved with maybe pick and choose. Be very selective in when you go forward.
I actually think that's what, in a 3-4-3, that's what you're going to have both center mids hold regardless. You're going to have both of them sit deeper because you're only playing two through the middle, so you can't afford to let either of those guys have too much freedom going forward. I agree. I think you'll see Remedi and Laurentowicz playing straight number 6 CDM matches for the entire match.
So do we already basically just go over lineup?
Well, what about on the left? I mean, are we saying Breck Shea?
So we also Guzan's going to start, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I think our man Alec can make a push.
To bring back Alex Tambakis. We assume the back three is going to be
make what's his
LGP.
face happy. The one guy who always used to
Seamus?
No, the fan of Tambakis.
I don't even remember his name.
There's one dude who always used to get in our mentions about Tambakis. He'd get mad if we'd say something about Tambakis. Like, dude, he doesn't even play.
I've never met someone so salty for a kid that clearly couldn't cut in
All 20 listeners that know who Alex Tambakis is thinks that's hilarious.
He's an OG, man. He's the first Atlanta United signing. You show some respect, okay? First Atlanta United signing, you show some respect.
He was the first.
Boy.
You always remember your first.
Oh God.
So the back line, LGP Parkhurst and Miles Robinson. I would say, just based on the fact that we've basically seen Breck Shea on that left side in preseason. Breck Shea, Remedi, Lorenowitz, and then Gressel.
Can I say something random?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Bello on the left.
No.
I do.
No. What
makes you think that?
He started there a couple times in preseason.
If there's a player you probably don't want to put in that position to start the season,
come on,
that's probably it.
The lad is a footballer.
He's probably it.
He's a footballer. Age
He
doesn't
still
discriminate.
He still hasn't
With
stepped
a
into
footballer.
that
We need to
kind of
edit out
atmosphere.
that impersonation.
Because here's the thing. What if something horrible happens
Yeah.
and it's his fault in the first 15, 20 minutes?
It'll be
It's
okay.
a big what if. But in that environment where where I'm sure he understands some Spanish words.
Bello. Start Bello. I'm team start Bello from the beginning.
Like, you want to talk about getting harassed. Especially if they know he's the youngest player on the field.
Throw him in there. Let him get
right.
CONCACAF young.
Okay. Disregard what Josh is
I
saying.
said it was random.
Breck Shea is on the left. Remedi, Lorenowitz in the middle. Gressel on the right. And then we've got presumably Barco, Joseph, and Pity making up that top.
Do we assume PT and Barco inverted, so Barco on the left cutting on his right, and vice versa, PT on the right cutting in on his left? Yeah, I think so too.
Do we think, because we were talking about Nagbe earlier, what do we think, because he did travel, or, with the team, what is...
He might make an appearance. I don't think he starts, though. I think with all the confusion that's been going on over preseason, with all the personal issues and weirdness, I'd be shocked if he started.
I would agree, but if it fits into the game plan, I would like to see him on the field.
I could see him.
Just like a 75th or 80th minute, especially if the game's well in hand. Like if you've done the job that you wanted to do, I would love to see him go out there and get a run out just to kind of quell any lingering suspicion. I know that this has really nothing to do with the game plan itself, but again, I mean, if you are winning comfortably, then those are some things you need to think about just to kind of put that issue to bed and move on.
I mean, I hope he gets playing time for that reason.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world.
I wouldn't expect him to start.
Well, no, I totally agree.
Yeah. We kill this Herediano match?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to. If you want to truly kill this match to death, you can watch Talking Tactics.
I was going to say, y'all are going to do that.
Yeah, but I think I just think it's going to be an ugly match. I think I'm going to say 1-0 Atlanta United.
See, and that's fine for me. Like, I'm not saying that to blow them out of the water, but anything less than a win to me is incredibly disappointing. So I'll go 1-0 as well. I think it'll be a little bit more, but I'll go 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go 3-1.
3-1.
I mean, all those things I said were more hypotheticals or things that could happen. But what I actually think is going to happen is that Joseph Martinez is going to be way too much for that back line to handle.
I think we do all agree if Atlanta United play well, they will win the match.
I just think the combination of Joseph, Barco, and sure, we still have to see what Barco really gives us in 2019, but Joseph, Barco, and Pity, just them alone is just going to be way too much.
Well, plus you can win this tie if you go if you win the game 3-1. A very, very unmotivated Herediano is going to come up to Kennesaw, I would think.
No, yeah, but as bad as they're playing, 1-0 is not insurmountable. But as bad as they're playing in season right now, one goal, especially the early goal that Atlanta United is so known to do every now and then, that can kill the momentum.
But they're playing
your
better
team.
though, like Josh told us.
They're playing better. My main disagree with you, Eric, is just they're a much better team in the Costa Rican League than you're giving them credit
I'm not
for.
discounting them.
Their position in the table is very deceiving. They have matches in hand.
I look at what Atlanta United has in terms of talent, players, coaching, facilities, and I look at what Herediano has in players, coaching, talent.
Their stadium's like 80 years old.
If Roberto Martinez can lead Wigan to a FA Cup triumph over Man City, then Herediano can beat Atlanta United on any one given day.
It would be, to me, this would be
interesting connection.
I'm not saying it can't happen. I think it can happen. It would still be incredibly disappointing, and it would make me rethink.
Really?
Not rethink, not drastically, but it made me rethink maybe the expectations for this year. If you go into that situation and can't put a decent look, you can't complain about the pitch. Apparently, it's a turf field.
Yeah.
Turf?
Although,
what? Why don't they have a real grass field? That's bullcrap.
Varying degrees of turf. But
and I agree. It could be really bad
cement or Mercedes-Benz.
No, you know what it is? They when they tore down the Astrodome in Houston, they just sent all the AstroTurf.
So I mean, you can't really complain about that.
You played on carpet.
You can mention it was an 8,000 seat stadium.
Oh yeah.
No, it's about 15K.
Okay,
they've expanded it. Yeah.
Sorry,
still small.
Still small as hell. So I'm not really worried. Look, I understand that it can be rowdy. It can be fans can do things that can really unsettle you as a player.
Yeah, what's Costa Rica money? Because they're gonna be throwing whatever the coins are.
But again, what have they not already seen as players? Maybe not with Atlanta United, but as players from South America that have been in Europe that have played against Orlando City. What have they not seen that's going to be a surprise?
I think
dude, how dare you disrespect Nani's new home club?
I actually think, with respect to the atmosphere, being in, I think, a lower level stadium with fewer people, if it's packed out, could be more intimidating because of the intimacy of the environment. The fans are right on top of the pitch. So I mean, it's the environment is unique, I think, to anything that MLS really provides.
I mean, as players, you go in knowing anything can happen. You know you need to bring your A game. You know the environment is going to be tough. I'm not saying that the players should be thinking like me. Me, the fan, knows that the players are more talented than this Herediano team.
But I wouldn't be rethinking what this team can do just because of the fact that it's not a bad side you're playing, and it's your first competitive match with a very new system and some new personnel as well.
I would say maybe rethinking is a bad way to phrase it. It would just bring me down a notch.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
I mean, it would give credence to one of the theories we've discussed, that there's a chance that this Atlanta United get off to a slow start this year, just as they acclimate to the new system, acclimate to a new talisman with Pete Martinez, so it's possible that could happen, and maybe we'll see our first early signs of that Thursday night in Costa Rica.
I get what you're saying. I disagree because, look, you got – and this is credit to Michael Parkhurst and I think what he said in Felipe's piece in The Athletic. The coaching staff, they didn't just win a championship. You have an entire new coaching staff. You have an entire new manager. You have a new player in Pete Martinez who obviously has won something. But the coaching staff hasn't won anything. So they're still out to prove things. They're still out to do work. I don't think anything's Joseph, just his mentality with life. I feel like he's hungry for he's a competitor. He's not going to want to lose, regardless of what the situation, regardless of what he's won. I think that the effort is, and I'm not saying that if they lose, it's because of lack of effort, but I think they're going in knowing the expectations are high. And they've got a lot still to prove to the world, to MLS, to to themselves, really.
Sure. I mean, I think the motivation level is high. I think the reason for a slow start is much more to do with the new system than the team not being motivated. I don't think that'll be an issue. But whether that happens or not, we'll have kind of a better idea after these two legs of Herediano. We'll have a much better idea of whether there's going to be a little transition period adapting to this new system and some new personnel, or whether the team do hit the ground running because, like you said, Eric, ton of talent, and it's not really a group that I think loses motivation just because they won a title.
Man, for someone that doesn't have like the Hispanic tongue, and you know I'm talking about that, the ability to say Spanish words, Herediano must be a really hard word to say.
It is hard to say.
I struggle when I'm talking really fast like that. I struggle with it sometimes.
Herediano, like you have to
It almost sounds like Italian, like you slip into like an Italian. Herediano.
All right, last I checked, Toronto was down to Independiente like 3-0. That could be worse.
Nice header there by Saprissa.
Up on Tigres 1-0 in the 74th minute.
Would you say that'd be an upset if Saprissa would have won that tie?
Yes, if they were to go through. Yeah, but you're seeing. We'll just quickly touch on Saprissa.
Saprissa a lot better than.
But Tigres might be better than Atlanta United, and you're seeing that. You're right, Eric. This is Saprissa
is better than Atlanta
level.
United.
But these teams from Mexico and MLS, they go to these smaller nations in CCL and struggle.
I think
it's usually the home leg where they.
That's anti-MLS hubris. Tigres is better than Atlanta.
Atlanta United,
history speaks for itself.
To the semifinals, to the finals, and play Mexican teams. I think the Mexican League in CCL is going to see their toughest match.
Me too.
Should Atlanta United be
and I think in
the history of them playing in CCL, I think Atlanta United will present them their
I think just match. The possibility of the Monterrey Atlanta United in the quarterfinals.
This entire podcast could go wrong if they lose on Thursday.
Oh man!
This entire podcast could be so bad.
Just important to blame Eric.
If this is on Thursday, man, you are going to get.
It is Eric's fault.
You either come hard with your takes or you don't come.
He made Tata leave, and now he's losing us CCL. It's just this guy.
All right, I got a question. What's Herediano's vertical game? Are we more favored on set pieces? They did score their only goal against in their last match. I forget the name of the team, and I couldn't.
They do not have a lot of. They do not have a lot of height on this roster.
They did score off the corner, so.
But everybody in the
take that into consideration. Again, the opponent they were playing, it was like last ditch defending. It was kind of a hectic play, and a Herediano player just happened to get his foot on it and put in goal. I'm not looking at that. They had a few chances in the first half. They had some good. No, they had two really big chances. Well. Two really big chances in the first half, and then after that, there was a big lull. And then they got the corner.
I thought they played well mostly. I mean, it's hard for us to really say how good they are on set pieces.
I'm sorry. I was just amazed at how bad they're back.
Yeah, just because somebody scores a set piece goal doesn't mean they're like this dominant set piece.
I would speculate that if you're playing two strikers, that you do tend to have better set pieces with two bigger guys up top. But I don't really know.
I don't think they're anything that Atlanta United can't handle. I was going to say they won't score on a set piece, but
And I do think they'll have maybe some set pieces specifically planned for this tie that they haven't shown Atlanta United yet, because set pieces are a big way, as we all know, that you can equalize kind of that when you have less talent on the pitch. Set pieces can be a great equalizer.
All right, let's talk about the kit, because that is a hot topic as of when was the reveal? Friday. I was at the reveal. I thought it was a fantastic event. I was surprised at how many people showed up to a kit reveal.
Oh, come on, dude! By now, you know people are going to show up.
And I like Atlanta United supporters. I don't. We obviously don't go to any other clubs reveal stuff like this.
Oh, wait, you mean the plastics?
Yeah, we don't go to like Orlando's reveal stuff. We don't go to. I know LA had one on Sunday. I think I forget it was LA Galaxy or LAFC, but one of them had it on Sunday, and I don't have no idea how many people went. But I got to think that Atlanta United, just based off no evidence alone, but just assuming because Atlanta United are as great as they are, that we have one of the highest attendance to these type of things across the league. And I think I heard there were 5,000 tickets. I want to say there was more than that, because at different points in the throughout the event, the entire field was covered in people. So I want to say there was more than 5,000. You got a chance to sit on the same chairs that the players get to sit on. I think you got to take pictures with the cup. There were different things you could do, but obviously no surprises with the kit. I think that the one thing I wish I could have seen, not that big of a deal for me, because I don't find these things to be that big of a deal. The only thing I kind of wish they would have done is maybe blended the black into the red and black stripes on the
back.
On the back.
I would have just kept the replica. Looks way better to me.
So the replica. The replica is solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
It's solid all the way.
On the
back. The black is all the way on the back.
And the authentic.
It's like right underneath where the numbers are. The stripes start.
They return. Yeah, that does.
I want to say that Home Before Dark called it a mud flat. I don't want to take credit for that one, but
that's
where I heard it.
I mean, honestly, it looks like they're wearing a penny. You know what I mean? Like one of those, like there's things you used to wear, like right on the side. Yeah, it looks like a penny.
Yeah, and you got your jersey hanging.
It's like they got like a black penny with a jersey hanging on the back. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like to me. And then you saw the memes and stuff, or people like trying to associate the fact that what if this is like Tata having his the Tata's still with us because he's got his shirt tied around the thing, and it looks like that. I don't know. I don't think
so.
I was going to say, I think
that
is either wishful thinking or just,
If they thought of that, they would have told us that, because that would be genius.
I just wish I saw, like, for example, Herediano, I think their kits have the same sort of design, different colors, but same sort of design. But the back, what we'll call the mud flap, it's blended. They basically, they blend the two together.
Well, but those jerseys also have way more sponsors than like in Atlanta. Atlanta has one sponsor.
That I'm not worried about, though.
But I'm saying, though, you can it looks a little different. Like a lot of South American or Central American kits are like that because they design it around where they're going to tack like 15 different sponsors.
What's that got to do with the back?
I'm saying there's sponsors on the back. There's sponsors on the back of this Tigres uniform. There's sponsors all over these. Look at the sponsors on the back.
I get that. I'm talking about the mud flap for the head.
Well, I'm saying, though, I'm just saying it might look like if there's a little sponsor down there.
What I'm telling you is that they've got the same design as Atlanta United, and
but theirs is blended.
They blended it so that the colors it's not as harsh of a
so it's not just a straight.
It's blended in, so it looks a little cleaner. I say cleaner because I like it a little better, and it just looks a little better.
What happened with the audio going out at the kit reveal?
I don't know. It was bad. Everyone was pointing to the camera guys who, if you didn't know, have nothing to do with the audio. They're filming. And so everyone came to the middle of the field to all the video guys and were like, we can't hear anything, which they had no control over.
They're like, well, we can't do anything.
So, yeah, they looked like dummies because everyone else thought they had anything to do with the audio.
You get to walk around the field.
I don't know. I mean, mic problems, and I honestly don't know how you don't mic test or mic check these things.
Still looked like fun. I honestly, dude, I love Atlanta United, but they deserve to have this whole thing blow up in their face. I mean, they waited way, way, way too long to reveal the kit. So what happens? Someone leaks it early on accident.
It's a bad kit.
And then
I'm just gonna come out.
Well, I don't mind the kit itself, but we can discuss that in a second. I thought Atlanta United, the way they handled this was very. I mean, you could have surely you could have revealed this earlier. We know that because Franco Escobar was wearing the jersey when him and his girlfriend, whoever it was, actually posted a photo of it on Instagram and leaked it. So Atlanta United waited this whole time. They tried to milk it for all it's worth and have this big unveiling with a bunch of celebrities. But they screwed up the audio, first of all, for the people that were there. And also they screwed up the unveiling because they decided to wait so long and milk this for all it's worth before unveiling the kit. So I love Atlanta United. They do things well. I did get a bit of a kick of this one kind of, as I said, blowing up in their face a little bit.
Toronto now down 4-0 to Independiente.
Great.
Dang.
You know, Terrence Boyd's got a penalty kick too. Super signing Terrence Boyd.
Joe Patrick just tweeted out, Toronto's losing so bad that Univision announcers doing Tigres a Prisa just said goodbye in English after showing the latest goal. I saw the Toronto goal. So
I love it.
Nice.
Toronto out. Great start to the 2019 season, Toronto.
Wow. They might be this year's big faller, like with Chicago last year.
They fell last year.
I think Giovinco's watching this.
Yeah,
game.
you're right. I mean,
Got
yeah,
him out.
yeah. But I think in this, they might be. I mean, that might be a club in crisis in a few months when Giovinco's gone. Some of the things that Josie Altidore said. Okay, so let's talk about one more thing with the kid. Can we talk about Stargate, please? Because
I did want to say, you
Stargate.
didn't give me a chance to say why I don't like it.
Oh,
The kid itself.
I thought it was because of the red or something like that.
Well, there's a couple different things.
Okay.
First of all, the red is different. It's not the same red.
It's not different. It's the same
Dude,
red.
it's not.
It's like slightly different.
It's different.
But it's not as different as it looked in some of the initial.
No.
Yeah.
It looked like, honestly, the first one I saw, the Franco Escobar League, it looked like the fake kit
Right,
that we
it looked
see
like the
going
red from the
around
fake
where
kit.
it's too red.
Yeah.
It's not that shade of red. The red was better on the reveal, but it's still not the exact. It's a lighter shade. It's not the same. I don't think you should mess with the color first.
I have it from a good authority. It's the exact same shade of red.
It's not the same.
Really?
It might be a difference in.
Thank God we're talking about games. It's red. It's not red.
It might be the difference between
Yeah.
how thin the stripes are and how they kind of mesh with the black stripes.
Well, then
and
if it
the
is the same, it
numbers
doesn't look the
size.
same, so therefore it's not the same.
I've heard from a
Perception
very
is
reliable
reality.
source it's the same red.
Okay, but perception is reality. If it doesn't look the same, then it's not the same. I mean, you might say that it technically is the same, but if it doesn't look the same, if the center stripes make it look brighter or whatever,
The same
then it's not the
shade
same.
of red maybe means slightly different, or I don't know.
I'm just
what
saying.
are we talking about?
That's one thing I didn't like, and then the red stripes on the shoulder, like your
shoulder stripes.
your red, black, and gold, and I just don't think there's enough gold on this kit. I think, and then the red shoulder stripes don't look near as good as the gold ones do.
That part makes it look very AC Milan.
That's the thing, and I have a friend who's a huge AC Milan fan, and he said it really just looks like you guys took AC Milan's last Adidas kit before they switched to Puma and went, here you go.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with that one. It looks very.
And
lazy.
what about the star controversy, of course, with them not being on the replicas, which, as we
I
learned,
just feel like we're gonna anger people if we talk about
Is
it.
No, I don't care about that as much as I like.
to me, that was the only story at all.
Well, no, the main
At
thing
all.
was that you're forgetting the sexism angle that some people were saying.
Well, not sexist. I actually didn't know. I never knew this. You know, it's funny. I guess man privilege or whatever. I never even knew. I never even knew that Authentics didn't come in women or child sizes. I guess that's
well,
my own
Atlanta United
ignorance.
doesn't have a
I didn't
women's
know
team,
that.
so technically, if you're making an authentic jersey, they only have a men's team. So wouldn't that? I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they
Yeah.
shouldn't or should do that. I'm just saying if it's an authentic Atlanta United jersey, there are only men that play for Atlanta United. That is a
Is
fact.
that their argument?
Sam's right. Look, how would you make an authentic?
I mean, it's
jersey?
just a term. It
for a
doesn't
team that
mean,
doesn't
like-
have any women on it. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to. That may sound like people will be like, "Well, what do you?" That's just a fact. I'm not even throwing an opinion out there.
But does authentic have to? I mean, I guess the big part of the pitch is it's game
What
fitting.
we're talking about is the authentic jersey, the same jerseys that the players are going to wear.
Yeah,
If that's what we're talking about, and that's how we're defining authentic, then yes,
right. But is that
There's not
really?
going to be a women's style of
I
authentic
guess I would
jersey.
disagree with the
how
they define authentic.
Sure,
then. Yeah.
maybe we can take it.
Well, you could. I mean, you could make the same thing for women. All I'm saying here about the stars and everything on the jerseys is that if they sell men's that have it and don't sell women's that have it, that's something that needs to be fixed.
Mhm.
Just like children. If the children's was on, then they need to have
Which
a star.
goes hand in hand with not having it on the replica.
Right,
Yeah.
but in terms of having like the replica having it or the thing, and people getting so mad about it, go to Amazon,
Well, thank
buy
God they did
yourself
get mad,
some
though,
dang stars and iron them on
Thank goodness they
themselves.
did get mad because just like
Yeah,
it happened with
I'm-
Seattle, the uproar from the fan base sees the stars.
But the
falling
replica
off.
stars are already falling
But
off.
let's give it time. I'm sure that will change. I'm
See,
waiting.
I-
I'm going to wait about a month before I buy my replica.
I
kit
think
with
Atlanta
stars.
United probably where it's like, oh crap, before we send these to the shippers, somebody go to Amazon and get a bunch of gold stars. We're hiring them on real quick.
No, I think they are. They had that plan the entire time. They just, for whatever reason, waited. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to wait to say, these.
Well, then the stars certainly
kids
shouldn't be falling off.
No, they shouldn't. You're right.
Yeah.
I will say that I do agree with the idea that if you're gonna have the stars on the authentics, you got to have them on the replicas, simply for the fact that essentially you're saying that unless women get the authentics,
and
they're not.
No,
also,
men and women need to be able to get the same thing. That is 100%. I totally agree with you there. I just think that the whole thing about like people getting mad and they fixed it. So like, there's nothing really to like other than the fact that the stars are falling off.
But I'm sure that
there's nothing to get really mad about.
If they keep falling off, then there's something to get mad about. I understand why. I'm going to wait about a month or so before I buy my replica kit.
I don't have a King Peach yet. I'm not buying this one. I'm just going to buy a King Peach.
People make a big deal about this stuff. Like I said, I'm glad to talk about games.
People make a big deal.
We would have had to spend 30 freaking minutes on this if it wasn't a CCL match this week. Thank goodness.
It doesn't help it when certain
we had Jersey
content
Gate.
producers out there keep aggregating these problems over and over again. I'm not calling anybody out by name. I'm just saying there are some people out there that are fans of Atlanta United or that like to put themselves out there that like to create this drama just to be able to talk about it.
But I still think that the response from the fans is the reason there's a star on the replica.
The issue is a solid issue. I'm not if they want to create if people want to create a noise about the replicas not having a star, I think that's a legitimate issue. It should have a star.
But that's the thing. This is an MLS problem, and the fact that
it's
they fixed. That's what I'm saying. They fixed it. Yeah. So the fact, the thing is, like, it's a league-wide thing. So for people to get all up in arms about it and be like, "Oh, United needs to fix this," no, MLS needs to fix it. It's a stupid policy to have. Of course, you should put. If a team's won a championship, the star should be on the jersey.
MLS and the sponsors, but I think the main thing is this.
And why is it only MLS that does this, by the way? Because if you buy
a
World
MLS
Cup,
that only does.
That's what I'm saying. If you go and buy like a Germany replica kit, guess what? It's got the requisite number of stars on it.
That's the only thing that really bothered me about this is the difference between replicas and authentics tend to be the fit or like something on the back.
Yeah, it's
like
not how it looks.
Yeah, I think
like why wouldn't they put that little Georgia thing on the replica?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You don't see replicas change something fundamental about the crest.
The Georgia thing I can understand,
and that's seriously different than changing the fit.
Well, no,
physically not having a star there.
But no, the look. If it's a replica jersey, it needs to look exactly like the authentic one.
The crest has to look the same.
I don't even think it's just the crest. I think it's everything. Mm-hmm. Like it's if it's supposed to be a replica and it doesn't look exactly the same, that's a crappy replica.
Well, that's another debate. But the issue to me is that the precedent here is replica. There are always differences to replica.
I'm saying look up the definition of replica. It's to be a duplicate.
Yeah, no, I
understand.
The other thing. But the big problem I have is not that they're different. It's that they initially changed the physical crest, which is never the difference between replicas and authentics.
It's not.
I'm saying the star. Yeah, I'm considering that part of the crest. That'll be there forever, right?
What's the biggest difference between replica and authentic?
It's the fit. It's usually the fit.
Material on the fit.
And then also, I think with the MLS, it's whether the patch is heat pressed or not.
Well,
the MLS patch.
Well, not just the MLS patch, also the logo.
Stuff like
the logo is heat pressed on the authentic.
Yeah.
Okay. The details are obviously the difference, right? How much more expensive is it to make an authentic jersey than a replica jersey?
Probably more. I don't know.
Probably more, but I'm sure it's a total ripoff.
Well, it reflects in the price, right? So an authentic is going to be way more than a replica.
I don't know if it's that much more to make.
I think it's a gross overprice.
I was going to say I don't think
we
it's
can all agree that
more.
it's cheaper. I can go on MLS.
Yeah, I know, but
it's substantially.
Don't try to tell me an authentic kit is worth $150. That's all I'm saying.
No, I'm saying he's right.
It might not be, but that might not be worth $150. But it's worth less than the authentic.
Yeah,
the replicas are worth less than the authentic.
For sure.
Why are they worth less?
Material.
Because the material, the stitching, that's all not done on the replicas because it's supposed to just look like. Now I agree. It should look like the authentic, but it is a replica. It's going to be a very close match to what you get from the authentic.
So why are the backs completely different?
It's not supposed to be an exact well, I'm not going to say that. It's time
to go to Webster's.
It's just not going to be like made from the exact same material. If you're looking for something that's the only difference is the kind of shirt that it's made out of, and that's it, and all the stitching and stuff is still there, then you might as well get an authentic.
I'm just saying that the word replica, according to the dictionary, means an
we
exact copy or model of something.
We all know what the term replica means, but if you're making a replica the same way you're making the authentics, just charge the authentic price for the replicas and be done with it.
Well, no,
or
but
make
it's
them
a
all authentics.
But it's
What's
a different
the point?
material.
You know why they don't have the Georgia thing on there? Because it's expensive as hell to put that Georgia thing on there with the scanner and all that crap that they did for the authentics.
I don't see the
You
comparison.
take that
to the
out,
Star.
you've less the price.
That scanner is just a
That's
QR
complete,
code.
That's a complete, but it's expensive to do.
We
So
all
you
understand they cost more. No one's debating
we're
that.
not debating.
It
Yeah,
just,
the star is a completely different story.
yeah,
I think you should have a star.
yeah. I mean, it's just
in
that
one way or the other.
with the difference in prices, you shouldn't be changing something like the logo, something that people can see. I don't like the idea of being in the Gulch and being able to say, okay, that person spent $150 on their jersey, that person spent $80 on their jersey.
I'm just
just
saying,
by
we
looking
all
at the
think
crest.
it's crappy that the team, and this isn't just Atlanta United, this is every single business out there. We all think it's crappy that every 2 years they come out with a new jersey to try to get more money out of you.
I don't think it's
and
crappy.
then, but that's the thing. It's not crappy necessarily, but it's business. It is what it is. This is capitalism. This is how this works. So they're going to try to make as much money as they can.
Yeah.
But when they're nickel and diming you with authentic versus replica, and the whole star thing ended up being a moot point. But when you're getting nickeled and dimed as a fan, you do start to feel frustrated.
It's like you're saying, Sam. We get it. Every club does this, but you just got to
It
look at
still
the rest.
sucks.
You look at the rest, but you look at the rest of the world, and nobody does what MLS
Well, no,
does
and that's the
in
thing.
terms of these
Right.
fundamental changes, and
Can
that's
we-
what makes this really
time out.
egregious.
It's not MLS. We got to shift the blame to where it probably belongs.
It's an MLS policy.
It's Adidas.
Well,
No,
that's- Adidas has sponsors EPL teams.
Thank you. And it's not Adidas because I have a replica Germany kit from when they won the World Cup in Brazil, and guess what? It's got the requisite amount of stars on it. It's not an authentic kit, so it's not. It's an Adidas MLS policy. It's not Adidas blanket policy.
Yeah, I think it's
So
the
they
two
need
together.
they need to get rid of this stupidity because again, fans can totally see right through what you're doing. Oh, you don't have the star on the non-authentic, so you're saying I got to go pay $50 more for a little gold
At
thing?
least, yeah. Give
me a break.
But
Yeah.
you're not paying another $50 for the gold thing. You're paying another $50 for the stitching, for the,
Right,
for the
but-
gold.
but
trim.
we're saying-
but that's the thing. People don't want any of that.
That's what
stuff.
you're supposed to be paying more for. But
And I-
actually, the star
The star is what you're
will
paying.
force a lot of
I
people
agree.
who don't care about those fits to pay for an authentic.
But if you're
And to buy a
drastically
size
reducing,
larger.
if you're drastically reducing the size of the cost of the replica
Mhm.
because of that, then that makes sense. I still agree that they should have a star. At the very least, have a star.
And they do.
But
That's the thing. This point is
We're not saying they should use the same fit and the same stitching and all that. It's just
But the fact that the
appearance
rule-
is
right.
important,
Yes.
especially with what goes on your chest, the crest. And again, I'm including the star as part of the crest because that's going to be a part of Atlanta United's logo for the rest of their
all
history.
I'm saying is if we were all working for Adidas making those decisions, we'd all be making a lot of money.
I'd love to be working for Adidas. Yeah, hey, whatever.
We'd all be making them a lot of money by that because that's what they're doing. They're making themselves a lot of money by
Yeah.
doing exactly what they're doing.
Hey,
Which,
make your money.
look, as much as you don't like it, it's capitalism.
So-
if you don't like
yeah,
if you don't like what they're doing, don't buy the jersey.
Make your money off of us the way you
How
make your
many
money
people-
off of EPL fans
They
and La Liga
they
fans.
ran
Do
out
the
of
same
jerseys.
thing.
I'm sorry, dude. It's capitalism doesn't fit for making products different just to screw people
why
out of
is-
money.
yeah.
Because, like he said, it's not the same in the German league.
I mean,
or
you
it's
might
not
not
the
like
same
it, but
in
it's
other
still
places.
Nickel and dime us the acceptable way of nickel and
Well,
diming us.
they're
We get it.
taking nickel and diming you to a whole new level if MLS is the only one that had that stupid policy of we're not going to put stars
And the
on
reason is,
replica
Eric,
jerseys.
because
And
they know.
MLS fans are buying these jerseys in record
I don't think
numbers.
that's true.
No, they're complaining and getting the the stars put on the replica way more than they're buying those.
And the reason
People
MLS.
You're wrong on that one.
The reason
You're wrong on
MLS
that one.
does it is because they know people will be forced to spend the money for the
If
authentic
we're
jersey.
wrong on this, then why did MLS ultimately cave and put the star on the Seattle replicas and put the star on the Atlanta United replicas? Because they know they're not going to make as much money if they don't sell those
Maybe.
replicas with the stars.
Maybe.
on them.
See, I don't think
Maybe.
so. I think they would have had more
Maybe.
people.
Then why'd they
buy them
cave?
than authentics.
Then why'd they
I think
cave?
sometimes
Why
just-
cave at all?
I
We
just
don't
bet-
know that they caved. They might have that could have been the plan the whole time. They just hadn't updated the.
No,
picture yet.
this is an MLS. We do know they caved because this is an MLS policy. Why did Seattle have to go through this back?
I mean, I just think public pressure matters sometimes.
Of
I
course
think
it
that
does.
they said, okay, regardless of the numbers with profiting and all, they said, okay, especially with fan base like Atlanta United or Seattle or Portland, the other
That's the
fan base
thing.
who got to change.
There's a lot of fan bases that wouldn't care
If you
because
have
they're
a-
not vocal enough.
And I think they realize, well, we're going to sell so many jerseys to this fan base anyway. We might as well make
Mhm.
good here.
Yeah, they may not do it for every team, but the teams that make enough of us think about it, They'll fix it.
My issue with the policy is that MLS is doing it knowing, just like we saw with Atlanta United fans all offseason, we want a star. It's going to look so cool. They know people that could give a crap about the authentic fit and stitching.
They just
will
want
be
to
forced
look
into
good.
spending $60 more just for a star on their jersey. That's what I have a problem with.
And I'm totally with him. It is just for the star.
Uh-huh.
We don't have to go into the whole how much more it takes to make one jersey over the other, because again, I think that is very negligible at most. You're paying that money just so you can have the star and have the look of the they're making the, what's the word I'm looking for here? They're making the authentics cooler, so to speak.
Yeah, and I get that, and I have no issue with that. But just if we get it, you want to make a little more money.
Nickel and dime us the right way.
Yeah, that's what I said.
he's saying.
Nickel and dime us properly, and we're cool with that.
Yeah, I don't mind being nickel and dime. I just don't mind being quartered nickel
Like
and
I
dime.
said,
You know what I mean?
it's like Qatar getting the World Cup. We know that FIFA takes bribes, but this is just such a slap in the face of the fan. It's so obvious, So
he's right.
that's-
No, I mean, this one specified, specific, very instance is one of the more egregious versions of this I've seen. Just because, again, MLS is the only league we've seen
Right.
Adidas.
And
do
if I
this
can
with.
just put a positive capper on this is about as critical as we've ever been at Atlanta United, and it's about a star on the kit. So
And again, it's an MLS thing way more.
yeah,
than
and it's an MLS thing. So I think overall we're doing a great job. But I mean, we talk the fan base raising hell about this. I think it made a difference.
100%
really
it did, because Adidas knows that Atlanta United right now is the fan base that's spending the most money.
We buy the merch.
That's the thing. I would like to see some sort of figures from Adidas in terms of what MLS fan bases are buying the
Atlanta
most
United
stuff.
it was over half of the revenue.
That's what I'm saying. So if you piss them off, guess what?
Yeah, here's the thing I have with all of that is if Atlanta United is the fan base that's buying the most jerseys, and you have a problem with the jersey, and you're still buying it, that's on you.
No, but they weren't still buying it, though.
My
They
thing
were
is,
complaining.
if
It wasn't
you
for
have-
sale. They were complaining about it before they could buy it.
If you have a problem with the price of the authentics and you don't like the replicas, don't buy them and send them that message, because that's going to speak so much louder.
Right, but
than
you know how
what you've
people
already
are.
done.
You know
No,
how
it's
people
not,
are.
because they already complained enough to the point, and this even goes back to the Seattle fans. They've already complained enough to get it fixed.
And what do they fix?
They got the jersey, the star, and the replicas.
Which is falling off right now.
Right, but they would have fallen off anyway,
Hopefully.
regardless. If you got look, I
So,
bought
I
a
mean,
pair of
like,
Nikes a few months ago that had like a check that fell off within like the first 2 months.
They did an easy fix that cost them $2 on the overall budget.
Okay,
Bottom
but
line.
why would they do that? Because they knew they weren't going to sell as many jerseys if they didn't.
So what's going to happen next time a team wins an MLS Cup and
The policy overall needs to be fixed.
Sure,
That's what
I can agree with you on that one. But if you really want to hurt Adidas and MLS, if you want to really punch them in the nuts, stop buying the jerseys.
Well, no,
I know it's hard as a fan
I know what
base.
you're saying, but that's why the complaints against it were so fervent. Because people are like, no, I don't want to pay $100 blah blah dollars. I want you to put the damn star on the replica, and they did.
And they're falling off now.
Well, I get that.
So
Okay,
so they were done cheaply at the last minute, and you've got a jersey with half a star or a star glue.
oh, I'm not saying they did it right. I'm just saying they did it. I
Still,
never said they
The
did it
problem
right.
is Adidas doesn't care. They bought the jersey. If you really want to hit Adidas where it hurts, stop buying the jersey if you don't like it. If you do like it, cool.
Well, also, how many
If you can-
documented cases do we have of stars falling off? I've only seen one.
I've seen one.
That's what I'm saying. So we're generalizing. Oh, all the stars are falling off. We don't know. I've seen one. We don't know how many
see what
stars are falling
I'm
off.
imagining that, like I said, I'm going to wait a month or so before I buy mine because I assume that by that
Well, that's
time,
a smart
the stars-
consumerism anyway. I don't buy the new iPhone when it first comes out because they're going to work out the
But
dang
you know
bugs.
how people are. Got to have the first one to have the star.
No, being the first person to have things usually doesn't work out for you because they do it wrong a lot the first time.
And yet there's always a rush to be the first.
I'm just gonna reiterate: if you don't like it, don't buy it. And send them.
I love this. Don't buy
That's
it. Just,
okay.
Just don't get it.
You know what you're doing? The same thing that everybody does when they're like, "If you don't like it, don't buy it." Well, that's not going to happen.
If you don't
That's
like it,
never.
you can get
Yeah,
it.
that's never going to happen. People are still going to buy it.
Which means the majority of people who are willing to spend the money are okay with what is on the
I
replica.
don't think
on
they're
the
okay. I
authentic.
think
I don't think
they
they're okay.
begrudgingly
They're willing.
buy it.
They're okay enough with it to spend $80, $150
Well, there's a
or
big
more
difference.
or whatever.
But here's the thing, too. We're discounting here. Eric and I are much more heavy set than Josh. The authentic jersey, for the market of people that are heavier set. I mean, you can't wear those things.
I mean, don't speak for me. I do CrossFit, man.
Eric, you are a beast. I saw some of your.
Yeah, I said you were a larger individual. I didn't say you were fat.
Yeah, you didn't say you were a slob.
We know what you
No, you don't.
know. So what are you?
I'm a big
He
guy.
just said. He said both of
And
us.
you're a big guy. I said that. I never said we were like obese. I'm just saying we're big. What size authentic would you wear? It's more than 1X.
No, it's just one XL.
The authentic jersey.
Yeah. I have an authentic from the last year. At least I got the one I got from last year's authentic one XL.
And it fits you to the point of where you'd be
It's
totally.
It's actually a little loose.
What?
I'll wear it next time I'm in here. It's a little loose.
Okay.
Promise.
Well, I'm just saying. Usually, for most people, you have to size up a few on the authentic sizes. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, we definitely killed that one.
Yeah.
At nauseam.
Just though we could have led with that, people. So at least you know.
At least we didn't. All right.
Good talk.
What else we got?
Talking tactics.
Talking
Talking
tactics.
tactics.
Right
Me and
after
Eric
this.
are gonna hit that.
Yeah, and I guess so I've got, because of my stupid, ridiculously loaded schedule, I'm going to be sporadic in the next few weeks on appearances here. So I am going to be doing some interviews. I've already lined up one with Felipe Cardenas from The Athletic. I'll be dropping those kind of as podcast special episodes, if you will. And I'm going to reach out to our buddy Alexi Lalas. I'm sure I'll be able to get him. So I will be gone but not forgotten in terms of dropping in some content.
Lots of good content. You got
we
that.
have content coming.
Yep, you'll have Talking Tactics out tomorrow morning where we'll do, get some X's and O's in there for the Herediano match. And then Eric's working on some smack talking. What are you going to call it?
I don't even know what to call it. I'm not even sure it's gonna happen yet.
Okay, well,
So we'll see.
we'll see. Anyways, moving on.
I like talking tactics and talking smacktics.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a web series, so it's
A
more
web
story based
series.
than anything else. So I don't know if it's gonna happen yet. We're gonna find you guys on social media.
At Sanjay Franco on Twitter, and like I said, I'll be dropping in some special content over the next few weeks.
You can follow me at JoshB914.
You can follow me at Eric G. Quintana. Follow the podcast at MOTS Podcast. Make sure you follow the YouTube channel because we do all of our live streams there.
We'll take a heart emoji if you've listened all the way.
Yeah, there you go.
Tweet us at MOTS Podcast with a heart emoji.
Dude, what emoji?
Just to let us know you've listened this far, and of course we love you.
Make
just like
sure
love us.
you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate that. If you haven't told a friend about us, make sure you do.
All right, I want
awesome.
the ghost emoji. So if you're listening this far in, send me a ghost
Ghost
emoji.
and hearts.
Ghost and hearts are cool. All right, until next time. See you later, Atlanta.
Yeah. Oh, and Waffle House did follow me on Twitter. How about that?
See you guys.
That's a big
Thanks for
deal.
listening.